I see. Well, we're broadcasting from the Mississippi Trade Mart in downtown Jackson as the Mississippi Economic Council hosts its annual Capital Day, an opportunity for business leaders and our government leaders to come together and talk about what we've done, what we need to do, and what's on the horizon for the state of Mississippi. And no one is more of a leader in that whole process than our Lieutenant Governor, Delbert Hosemann, who's here with us in studio. Governor, thanks for being here.
Good morning, Lucien. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Yeah, cut me on there, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We're looking forward to second day of the session. We started yesterday and had the preliminaries and whatnot. Sent the 3 senators to tell the House we were in session, and 3 senators to the governor's office to tell them that we were ready for business. And so I think I saw I probably put 10 or 15 bills on the calendar yesterday, and I saw about 50 or 60 in my office to go assign this morning. So they're off and running.
I'm glad to see you're already assigning bills. Not that that's a particular surprise. I know that's a cumbersome process, and people forget all the administrative work.
It really is. For those of you, I don't know how interested people are in this, but what happens is that each senator is able to file as many bills as they want to. And, in fact, we'll have probably over 1,000 of those bills filed. And once they are filed, and under the rules of the Senate anyway, they give me 24 to 48 hours to actually assign them to a committee. So when they draft them and come out of, they have a drafting group in the Capitol for the senators. When it's drafted, they run them up to the 3rd floor, and I start reading. And it's kind of burdensome when they show up with about 50 or 60 of them, I can tell you that. So we have a lot of quick reads and try to get them to the right spot. Sometimes every now and then there'll be choices which committee would be better, to be addressing whatever the issue the senator wants to bring up. So we have to pay a little bit more attention to that, and then we try to work on the workload. Traditionally, Judiciary A is a very busy committee. Judiciary B would be for criminal. Judiciary A is just about everything else. It's not, energy or something else. So that they get really overwhelmed. Appropriations has, of course, dozens and dozens and dozens of bills. So you try to get, put the workload around because we have deadlines. The first filing deadline is January the 11th. So we're like a week out. So hang on, man.
It moves quickly. It's interesting
really does,
watching Congress work, and then you watch the Mississippi legislature work. You may disagree the decisions that get made in either place, but y'all actually legislate. Y'all read the bills.
There is no commonality with us in Congress.
Oh, I know. I wish we could get y'all to go run Congress because maybe things would work better.
We balance the budget. I mean, we have money saved for rainy days. We pay our teachers. We give infrastructure. We argue among ourselves and all that other, but we work and things happen in Mississippi.
That's right.
This last 4 years, Lucien, I've been around a little bit, but the last 4 years for the Mississippi legislature was probably the most they've ever done, like ever. And the results are pretty staggering. We have reduced the size of government by 3,000 employees.
Wow.
We paid off for this year, including this year, we will pay off $600 million in debt for the state. Now, how important is that? Well, that would be money you borrow at 6 or 7 or maybe next year 8 or 10%, depending on what the feds do. So that becomes really important. That's real money that we save for when we get in trouble. We really need to borrow money. So we've done that. Teacher pay raise. Governor-elect Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I happened to meet with her about a week ago, and she was giving me grief about us raising teachers' pay so high that she's going to have to raise hers. Now, is that a position to be in for Mississippi?
Do we lead the Southeast now?
We do. There's about $6,000 on average. We bumped everybody's salary up. That's the people who are training our minds for the future. That is the future. The biggest thing we got in Mississippi is a child's brain. That's what we need to be developing. So that's really interesting. And then you go back through the biggest infrastructure. MDOT put up almost $1 billion of contracts last year. I mean, that's people with orange barrels and backhoes going on.
Right.
So you just go across the whole line of things that Mississippi addressed. We addressed critical race theory. We addressed just about everything that came up. We put it on the plate and took after it. The dichotomy between us and the United States Congress is so stark when you look at their inability to do anything, like you were talking about earlier, even on, to obtain a speaker, their inability to do anything meaningful up there is just depressing.
Yeah, it's just broken, and you compare it to y'all's ability to actually get things done, have people offer amendments, have discussions. So I'm proud of the good work y'all have done over the last 4 years.
And then we have, Lucien, we've got $1.4 billion in the bank. And like California has a $25 billion deficit.
Wow.
And then we have $700 million in our rainy day fund. We saved $350 million in our American Rescue Plan, so we can go back into our cities and counties for their water and sewer stuff. We're just set here to do some things. One of them, I want to give some money back, to the taxpayers that sent it to us. We can talk about that in a minute. But the whole position that Mississippi in, we've never had billions of dollars in the bank, had teacher pay raise, infrastructure, addressed education, so many other issues, and be in the position that we paid off state debt and shrunk the size of government. Now, this is like Ronald Reagan is probably smiling somewhere.
Well, I mean, it's doing what you say you believe in. It's running on conservative principles and
governing.
That's
what we said we were going to
way.
do, and it's shocking. We actually did it.
As you look forward to this session, I mean, I know it's sort of conventional wisdom that we're in an election year, nothing's going to happen, everybody's going to sort of, kick the big cans down the road. I mean, how do you see this session shaking out?
No, when every day I go up to the Capitol, I'm still surprised that I've got an office there. I mean, I'm from Warren County. How did I ever get here? And I'm so honored to be there. I feel like every minute I'm not working towards some goal one way or another, whether you agree with me or not, that we're working towards something to achieve something for the citizens. I feel like that would be a waste of time. I just don't operate that way. So we're looking at a tax rebate. We collected $270 million more than we budgeted from individual taxpayers, and I want to send them their money back.
How would that work? So you'd get some percentage of what you paid?
No, we basically just start from bottom up. If you paid $1, you get $1. If you paid $100, you get $100. If you paid $380, you get $380. And you just start until we ran out of $270 million. That really puts money at people who it would make a meaningful difference to. If you're lucky enough to pay $50,000 of Mississippi taxes, that means you probably earned, a couple million or something.
Right. So you're probably not getting a check back.
Yeah. Well, you get a check. You'll get a $500 check, but you wouldn't get your full $50,000, and you should be very thankful, and we appreciate you helping educate our children. But I think bottom up would be the best way, and I want to get back into this $350 million. I met with DEQ yesterday. They've taken in, given out the first one of these matching. One of the things the legislature did was really smart. They said if a city or county will put their ARP money up, we'll match it. We didn't have to do that. We could have kept our own ARP, our American Rescue Plan money, and spent it on whatever we thought was appropriate. But instead, we gave it back to the cities on a match, and they put up $433 million, and we were fixing to put up $433 million. So you're going to see almost a little short of $900 million in water and sewer going to towns all over Mississippi. And we saved a little money. I was talking to DEQ. If they're oversubscribed, we put $450 million up.
And this is ARPA money?
Our American Rescue Plan money. We save that, and then we match in all these cities. And then if they're oversubscribed, I'd like to go ahead and match whatever the oversubscription is. So we're real hopeful. They've got a deadline of January the 30th. And for you cities and mayors and aldermen that are listening out there, make sure you get your application in. Because I'm very hopeful that if we don't have enough money there, we still saved a little, we could go on and add money there to have a match. So
is the local matching requirement, is that a federal requirement, or is that something y'all
imposed? No, that's just something the state came up with.
Smart.
And I think it was smart because the local cities have a lot of demands. Their police don't make enough money, and you've got all of these other demands. And this one-time money that fell out of Washington, which I don't know how my grandchildren will ever pay it back, but regardless of that, it fell out. It wasn't in anybody's budget. So we tried to get forward-thinking cities and to say, look, that's money that we never would have gotten, and now the state's going to double that money. So let's go ahead and use that money for these generational things, water and sewer, not too sexy or whatever, and we got other needs, but let's just do that this time. And they responded. Our municipalities responded tremendously, and our counties did too.
Well,
I'm real proud of them taking that kind of a view. They could have given a one-time raise, and then next year they don't have the money to pay the raise.
That's the thing, and y'all were smart to structure it that way, that we're putting it into things that are big and transformational, not using this one-time money on things that are going to be recurring. You got time to stick with us one more segment?
I do. We also put up $300 million in rural water associations.
Well, that's exciting stuff. Well, we're here with Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann. Stick with us for more of this conversation. This is Lucien Smith in for Paul Gallo here on the Gallo Radio Show on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Good morning, everybody. This is Lucien Smith coming to you live from the Trustmark Bank studios. Life's beautiful when your bank fits you to a T. Trustmark, people you trust, advice that works. To learn more, go to trustmark.com, member FDIC. Well, with us in studio is still our Lieutenant Governor, Delbert Hosemann. Thank you for being here, Governor.
Thank you. I'm just grinning because I got an email from my son and daughter-in-law of my Howard Delbert is 4 years old today.
Well, happy birthday to Howard Delbert.
He's
That's
so
great.
excited. And thankfully to the Lord, they're just calling him Howard.
I feel your pain. With a name like Lucien, I understand what a name like Delbert must be like.
He dodged a bullet there, but we're real proud of him and going to school today. And
well, happy birthday to him.
Yes, sir.
Well, we were talking about this a little bit off the air, and I've heard people talk about this. I know there's been talk to us a little bit about the modified school calendar that people have been talking about a lot.
Yeah, real good point. So what we did about 3 years ago, we went to Corinth, Mississippi, and they had the superintendent there had started a modified calendar in which he had 9 weeks on and 3 weeks off. And I became very interested in it. I went back 2 or 3 different times. Children, and I went up there and I sat with them, and finally I got all of the teachers in a room. I said, I don't want any administrators, I just want my teachers with me. And I think there were like 20 of them, and we sat in a big circle in a room there, and I said, all right, y'all, what's wrong with this? And we went around the room. Every single one of them we think is great. Well, what is there a problem? I asked them the big question, what about football? No, everybody still goes to the football game. What about band? Oh, the band loves it. They get to practice longer before they have the band test down here. So I finally said, well, why y'all like this? They said, look, quite frankly, by March, I'm sick of these kids. I mean, they were honest about it. And they said, I'm sick of them, and they're sick of me. They said, this part where I get 2 weeks off in October allows me to recharge my batteries, 2 weeks off again in the spring, 2 weeks of Christmas, that kind of thing, and basically about 4 weeks off in the summer. And that allows me to recharge, get my education stuff done, have some time. I took a fall break with my family. I mean, they went into a whole lot of things that were positive, and it really caught my eye. So I started talking to other schools, and now Lamar County and Hattiesburg just finished their second year. They had like 82% of the teachers were favorable. 85% of the parents love what they've done. That's 18 schools all over, and they're different. They have different requirements. Small towns, big towns. Then I went to Gulfport. Superintendent East down there runs a great school in Gulfport. So I went down. I went to what they have is called an intercession, which is really interesting. During the 2 weeks that they're off, if a child is slow on a topic, they can bring them back in instead of trying to go to summer school like you and I did if we did bad. And, of course, we had to go back to the summer. They bring them on right then. And so they don't have this summer gap where they go out for 3 or 4 months, and then August and September basically is bringing them back up to speed. So they have no big gap. So that gives them more learning time for the kids. And then if you're accelerating on a topic, you can get on whatever topic now and do it, virtually. So then, when we got to looking at all of that during these intercession periods, like in the summer, they have these kids come back. In Gulfport, there were over 1,000 out of 5,000 kids were back in school during the 4-week period, and it's taught by student teachers. And I went and sat in some of those classrooms, and they had stuff on the board, and it was lighter. It wasn't like calculus or something, algebra. It were lighter things that they were doing, but they were all educational oriented. So keeping our kids involved in that on a period throughout the year has proven to me, I think anyway, to be a tremendous asset. Now, in Lamar County, it cost, I got the numbers, it was $200,000, actually $201,000, for them to convert to this modified calendar. And so what I think we'll see the legislature, and I'm going to propose from the Senate side, and we have a good bit of support, to pay for schools that want to go to the modified calendar. If they want to go to the modified calendar, well, we'll give them $200,000 to get them that.
Is there a cost associated with it on an ongoing basis, or is it just sort of a transitional?
And so we would do a startup cost, and then we would do a maintenance. Like it may be that we would give you $100,000 a year to maintain this. Now, the student teachers like it because they're getting some extra money, making some extra pay, and the regular teachers like it because they're getting some time off. And we have seen with the teacher pay raises that we did, and this modified calendar where they have time with their families and stuff and time to prepare for education, that we're getting teachers to stay. I've got emails from one saying, you did this and I'm going to stay here. I was going to quit, or I was going to retire, or I was going to Alabama, or whatever. So we've got them now. I got one yesterday from a lady saying how much she appreciated what we were doing. We're on the right track. So I think we've energized our education community here.
That's great.
By compensating, giving them a different way. We don't go to harvest anymore in October and stuff like that. You don't have to work the fields, that kind of stuff. So we really need to think on how we're going to educate our children. This is the seeds for the future, for our economic future. And when we do this, when we do it a little, we're going to be the leader in the country on this, where these schools are going to find that they can produce a better product, give our kids more time to learn, or more time to be in a safe environment, getting fed, if that was a requirement. You know, for some children don't have healthy meals. So all of those things aggregated, I think, end up producing a more educated child with a better opportunity to do more in Mississippi. So I'm real excited about that. And right now, I think there's probably half a dozen schools that are doing this, and some are kind of half doing it one way or another around the state. But I think over the next 3 or 4 years, you'll see the majority of our schools put children first. And that's where we're headed.
It's smart of y'all, to not assume that we should just keep on doing what we've always done, because it's what we've always done.
No.
So I think people appreciate that. I just have a few minutes left,
Yeah.
so shifting gears to
Yes,
a couple of other topics. Looking at, I know this is personal to you like it is to me.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson obviously has a crime problem. There was a shooting yesterday in an intersection I drive through on a regular basis. I mean, what is the legislature thinking about? I know y'all already did some work last year on this. I mean, what else is the legislature thinking that could be done?
Well,
to help
I'll
with the
tell you a
problem?
couple of things. One, and I'm like you, where I go to Kroger, they had a shooting right there in the parking lot right in front of us, and I wasn't there that night, but you get worried about sending any member of your family down there. So there are two things that I have been real strong on. I met with Bo and Weekly, who does who is the
Capitol Police Chief.
Capitol Police Chief, and also with Sean Tyndall. We've increased as many as 8 last month. We'll go to 150 police officers. We'll probably expand their jurisdiction throughout all of Jackson so they can work with the local authorities here without having zones or something that would complicate matters. I had a particularly egregious thing that was told to me that we had somebody that was trafficking 2 young girls, and they broke in, and because it was outside of our district, they weren't charged by the people who were in charge of that. That just was devastating to me. So I think what we're going to do is expand their jurisdiction here and allow them to go around. The other thing, Lucien, you will see mandatory sentencing coming from me this year. I'm sick of kids carjacking cars here or anywhere in the state of Mississippi. I started getting the numbers from the Supreme Court. I get them monthly on what people are charged. I have seen people who had carjacked other people that had like 5 years suspended, never spent one freaking day in school.
It's insane.
In jail. I think that is an aberration that I intend to push from the Senate side. I think I have the support there to have mandatory sentencing for those kinds of things.
Well, people respond to incentives. I mean, if you can commit a violent crime, go off with a car and you get 2 weekends in jail, there's not really an incentive not to.
They don't even get
other
2
than
weekends
decency.
because Jackson doesn't have a jail. Now, I started this last January. It is empty right now today, and the reason it's empty, they will not put the personnel in it. Behind the Hinds County Courthouse stands an entire jail with 100 and something places in it. Our policemen have to drive all the way to Raymond, which is already taken over by the federal government. There's nobody working at the jail here. So we're letting people off that are committing crimes, just letting them go down the street, particularly on misdemeanors or anything like that. So there basically is no immediacy of justice at all outside of a murder or something. They'll take them down there to Raymond. But the fact that we don't even have a jail here is staggering to me. And I have offered to help. We have offered to have some ARP money spent to help fix it up or something. It's my understanding now that it has been fixed up. And basically the mayor and the city council won't put anybody over there. So have at it, man. You get what you pay for.
Well, I appreciate y'all doing everything you're doing, even though I know you're getting constantly criticized by Jackson leadership for all the help that you're providing, or the help that they say you're not providing as you're providing all the help. So appreciate what you do for the city and everything you do for the state, and I wish you the absolute best.
Thank you.
As you start this session. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, it's great to be here, and we're going to have a really good year in the legislature and a really good next few years in Mississippi.
Well, thanks to the good leadership we've got. Well, thank you for being with us. That's been Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann. This is Lucien Smith in for Paul Gallo on the Gallo Radio Show here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.